2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 12. This, brothers and sisters, has been on my heart for a while. And I will tell you that I've not, it's not a subject that I can say the Lord's ever brought to my heart in this way. And I would pray that before we get into it too far, that, that each of you and we would all pray together, that the Lord might help us to see the truth of this. This is one of those subjects that as soon as we begin to speak on it as the Lord would give us utterance, it'd be real easy to get drawn away by the enemy, because you could just hear the howls of the enemy even now, or I can, talking about how that this is going to be so horribly misunderstood. So, as with all things, we have to trust the Lord in that. So pray about that as we go forward, because there's a reason. I really believe that the Lord would have us to hear this, but this is going to, I think, initially sound like something that may not make a lot of sense to us, especially because of some of the teachings that we've had. But I pray that, you bear with us, and more importantly, bear with the Lord, and pray for me that the Lord would just pour out what he would have us to give. So here in the book of Peter, 2 Peter chapter 2, we're going to be touching on a subject that is very relevant in the news every single week, seems like this day and time. And it has to do with people's outward way of life. And that's not a subject that the Lord's not ministered to us on many times. You might hear people say, and you might have said it, and I know I have too, just even this week, who is well known in especially charismatic circles, that has been exposed, and to a degree, brothers and sisters, that when you look at probably the almost dozen of these mega preachers or mega church preachers, or however that we characterize it, even just in this last year that's been exposed, seems like to me each one of them takes on a dynamic that is not really completely relative to the one before. You think you can't hear anything any worse than you heard, and yet you hear something worse than you heard. And this latest one, I don't want to get into the who of it, because that's not really what this is about. Except to say this: when we see that, when we hear that, and when we've been exposed to people, we might be inclined to say something along the lines of, that these people seem to live a double life. And I think mostly when that kind of characterization is applied to this, the idea is that a person cannot be a genuine child of God and quote unquote live a double life. And I would say again, brothers and sisters, because this is such a, at least in my heart, a touchy subject, and I wouldn't say I wrestled with the Lord over it, but it's been concerning to me, because I've challenged it, and maybe especially early on, not really understanding maybe what the Lord was exactly trying to say, as is all the case early on. But as we